Hey there, everybody. Welcome in Happy Hour Friday, DFS NFL Week 5. And we're not going to talk box checkers. We've already done that earlier. If you are a VIP, you've seen the graphics I'm dropping. I'm working on putting those in an article format, but they're going to come out late next week because my VIPs get early access to all the information. And that should encourage you to come in here and talk to me and become a better DFS player at dfsarmy.com. Essentially one-stop shopping, all things daily fantasy sports. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 10% off discount each and every month. That makes you save a little bit of money because, after all, friends don't let friends pay retail. As is, I'm going to talk a little bit today about a couple of things. And number one, I want to show you, talk a little bit about a poll and contest selection there on Twitter. But second of all, I want to show you how to set up the lineups in the domination station for running that top 2%, those micro boosters we've been talking about this week, because I think it's super, super easy and it won't take you very long at all. Would you play at a DFS tournament 2,222 players that pays the top 450 people, but it's a $200,000 prize pool, 440 of the 450 chop up that $100,000 while the final 10 chop up the other 100K? Would you play in a tournament structured like that? I want to know, because I want to see if you're thinking along the ways the way I do. The way I think when I'm talking about taking guys that are struggling to win this industry, win in this format, and actually turn losers into winners, because I think there's flawed thinking in a lot of these things, and maybe we don't think enough about these. But we'll talk about that more on the inside, dfsarmy.com. Those of you out here in free land, again, you got to become a member, man. If you want to learn this kind of stuff, you got to become a member. That said, let's at least show a little bit about the booster stuff, because we kind of talked about it. And we said if you get good at building top, say, 50% lineups, if you build it more than 50% of the time, you should be a good cash game player. I don't care if you stack or don't stack, really. I mean, I'd prefer you don't, because I think it increases your floor. It diversifies your risk. You're not so heavily concentrated in one game. So if that game goes kaputs, like the first half did last night in LA and Seattle, you're not all tied up in that one game with 30 to 40% of your lineup and tanking everything all at once. You're spreading out. It's like walking upright on thin ice, or getting down on your belly and spreading your arms and your legs out and crawling to safety. When you spread your weight out, you increase your safety. And when we're trying to play cash games, that's what we're trying to do, is increase our safety. If we're wanting to play something like a triple up or a quintuple up, we're going to want to take a little bit more risk because we need a little bit of upside, but we're going to save most of the risk for the really top-heavy GPPs. Those are where we're going to get a little freaky and get a little crazy and whatever else. But I also like to play 100-man leagues. 100-man league means I have a 1% chance at winning it if everybody's skill level is the same. I happen to believe it's a game of skill, a lot of luck in it, but it's a game of skill, and our skill levels are not the same. I have an advantage there. I've proven it over large sample sizes. I build top 1% lineups about 4 to 5% of the time. That means 95% of the time I don't win the 100-man league, but it means I win it more often than I should. And that's all that matters. That's what builds a bankroll. I can go 30 weeks in a row and not win, and I'll be happy with it because I know that my numbers are coming. My day is coming. My time is coming. I am not a results-oriented guy anymore. I'm not worried about what happened last night. I know my process. I trust my process. I work my process, and I win with my process. And I can teach you to do the exact same thing. But in those micro boosters on DraftKings, we're a top 2% lineup. So again, build a top 2% lineup more than 2% of the time. The philosophy is the exact same from a 100-man league to a 2% micro booster on DraftKings. That's why I like what I've found this year, because it's working and it's proving very, very simple. We don't have to worry about ownership too much. We can play the chalky guys. We can stack a little, because that's what my ladder lineups used to do. If you search out on Google, DFS Army ladder lineups or ladder strategy, whatever, you're going to come across a system that layers contests. And in that, because we're shooting for the top of that pyramid, what we're doing is we're concentrating a little bit of upside, but we're staying well within the chalk. We're playing the safe plays, the obvious plays, the smart plays, the stuff that should win most often. We're staying kind of close to the vest there and not taking a lot of chances on the goofy, freaky stuff, because we're not trying to win the goofy, freaky tournaments, okay? But here's how I would set up the domination station. And again, this takes no time at all. That's why I love this so much. You guys, gone are the days where you're digging hours and hours and hours into this stuff. It's over. Gone. You're going to key on a few games, right? You're going to look for those totals that are over 46 or 47 points with closer spreads. You may focus on the Carolina Eagles game. You may not. That game's a lower total. I don't like it. I'm not saying it can't go off. I'm saying the ownership isn't going to be there either. And if it does go off, it's not going to kill me. Low total again, Washington, New Orleans. Don't need to worry about it. I would worry about both these games. They're in the 44 to 46 point wheelhouse. So both favorites are in play for defenses. Carolina and New Orleans defenses are in good spots this week. But that said, 48.5, that's over 47. Focus over here. You could run it back with the Jaguars if you want, but focus on the Titans. Derrick Henry, even a Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown is back, whatever. Focus on that. 50-point total here. Focus on Green Bay, but include some Cincinnati. 49-point total. Focus on the Minnesota Vikings. May or may not include some of Detroit. Low total. Scrap the game. See you, New England. Don't need you. 48-point total. 10-point favorite. That's a heavy game script game for like a Fournette or something, but Brady's going to get his points. Brady throws the ball. Focus on the Brady. If you want to run it back with a Dolphin or two, that's fine, but don't stack the Dolphins. Don't waste your time. Again, these are the games that are going to have the ownership. These are the games that are going to be a little bit safer, a little bit closer to the vest. So what I've done is I've set a rule up in the optimizer. Legacy stacking, quarterback, no less than 2 players. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, pass catchers, right? I don't care if it's Derrick Henry or not. Any running back will work for me. Same team. If you want to set up another rule, no less than 1 player of the opposite team and run it back, be my guest. It works just about as well. This is what I call a 3x0. Quarterback and 2 players is 3 from the same team. 3x0. If it wants to run one back, it can, and it did. I'll show you the results here in a second. But what I'm doing is I'm going to use these player rules too down here. The next best thing. At most 2 players, at most 3 players for the teams I'm stacking, right? Like I don't want a Tampa Bay stack with 5 guys on it. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's too risky for the contests that I'm playing. But 3 players, quarterback, 2 pass catchers, fine. Minnesota, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Green Bay. Those are the teams that I'm stacking. Those are the ones that get the 3 players at most, right? I want it using 3 players. In fact, I'm telling it to use 3 players. But every other team, Jacksonville, Miami, Washington, New England, whatever, only 2 players. I like the secondary stack idea, but I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to see 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Tom Brady in my lineup when I'm focused on a Minnesota stack. Okay? To me, that makes no sense. It's too much risk for the contest I'm trying to build for. All I'm doing is going to set it up in tournament mode, couple unique players, 2 or 3, your choice, 50 lineups, that's fine. Run a little bit of running back in the flex position, hardly any tight end at all, and then all the wide receiver at once, 20% randomization, done. Don't need to be any more complicated than that. All I've done is set up the quarterbacks. I've unchecked the guys I don't want to see, right? Tampa Bay, Aaron Rodgers, Carolina, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill. These guys all stack. I'll let them go. The other guys don't even want to see them. 20% global exposure. I don't want to see any more than 20% of anyone. Once it gets to 20%, I want to force it off of that and stick it on another team. That's how I get some distribution. I'm distributed evenly across all of the high-scoring games. I should have a few lineups. I don't know which ones, but I should have a few lineups break out. Those go through the top 2%. Those pay me 40 times my buy-in. Sure, it's only a quarter, but it brings back $10. Last week, pushed 8 through, ended up making whatever it was, $150 on the weekend playing 2 different slates and quarters. Come on. You can do this. I look at the running backs. I don't uncheck anybody. I'm going to finagle around a little bit. Like it came off with a little bit of Derrick Henry was a little too low, so I gave him a little bit of a boost to get him in a little bit more. But I've got a 50% global max exposure on everybody else. Running back, receiver, tight end, defense, whatever. And all I'm doing from here is maybe if I see a guy that I'm a little hot, that I'm high on, that like it loved Leonard Fournette, it capped him. So I don't need, that's fine. I'll let it run 50% of that. Come down here to some of these other cheaper turds. It didn't use a lot of those, thank goodness. It stayed right up here in this wheelhouse up here. And this will change again Saturday. Injury reports come out, et cetera, et cetera. Wide receivers, you'll notice I've got a few guys that were coming in a little bit lower owned or a little bit lower exposed, so I boosted them up a little bit to get a little bit more of them. I love Deontay Johnson this week. I love Brandon Cooks every week right now. DJ Moore is a stud, right? It was giving me more Justin Jefferson than it was Adam Thielen. That's fine, so I boosted Thielen. That's all I'm doing, okay? I'm just going off of a little bit of box checkers if you watch that video, a little bit of what I'm finding when I'm doing my digging, and who I like when I see low exposure come out of the optimizer. Hawkinson, Fant, Conklin, get up there. Cameron Brate was giving me way too much of that. No confidence in him. Drop him down. I liked Dan Arnold. It's fine. Give me a bunch of Ricky Seals-Jones too, but to be honest with you, with Ricky Seals-Jones, he's so cheap. He only has to get me a couple of targets. God forbid he falls in the end zone and smashes. Value, fine. And then a couple little boosts here. It gave me too many Texans and too many Eagles, but I want to see more Panthers and Saints. When I'm done with that, I click Optimize and I go. Now, I would not recommend you set those up exactly like that because I want you to run it without any adjustments first. See where it goes. Come down here. Check your quarterback. See who it likes. Well, it gave me a ton of Joe Burrow. That's okay. It gave me 10 lineups of Joe Burrow. Other runs were giving me 10 lineups of, Tom Brady. That'd be great. But this one didn't. It's fine. They're still all fairly evenly spread with not much Aaron Rodgers. If I wanted more Aaron Rodgers, I'd go put a smiley face on him, and he'd come up in my projections. If I wanted less Sam Darnold, I'd put a frowny face on him. But everybody's kind of about where I want them. I would honestly like to see more Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to worry about it too terribly much. I look at the running backs. Derrick Henry, got him up where I want him. Fournette, DeAndre Swift, I'm not worried about any of these other guys. Now, if Mixon's out, fine. If Najee Harris you want to boost him, that's fine. Whatever. Those are going to be your call, okay? Wide receiver. Same diff. There's a lot of Jacoby Myers, which is okay, but there's Godwin and Brown and Cooks and Thielen, the guys that I smiley-faced. Down here, a few others. Tight end, defense, et cetera, et cetera. Now you go into your lineups and you start looking through these stacks. Do they make sense? Cousins. First of all, I've only got 3 Vikings, Cousins, and 2 others. Great. And then I look and there's only 2 Buccaneers. That's great. When I start scrolling down here, I start noticing the Buccaneers, there's 3 of them, Godwin and Fournette. It's different than the couple that are going to be in these other lineups. If I can find another one. There's Fournette and Brate. So it's going to shuffle up a little bit, which is great. And it's going to run it back. Who are the Bucs playing? The Dolphins. I didn't even ask it to run it back, and it ran it back with some Jalen Waddle. That's great. That's kind of a 3-by-1 stack now. It's got Deontay Johnson in it, Ricky Seals-Jones, Texans D, Derrick Henry. Fine. I love this lineup. Go down here, keep scrolling. There's Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. If I look for other Tannehill lineups, there's Derrick Henry and Ferkser. For another Tannehill, Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown again. Look a little bit more. I'm just checking for A.J. Brown and Ferkser. I'm looking for distribution, right? And I'm seeing some mixing around. Oh, I guess we got a little delivery here. Ferkser and Henry. It's fine with me. That distribution is what I want. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm looking at these others. How many of these are run back? How many of these are not? How much of this is actually put together? How many secondary stacks am I getting? Like you saw up here, I got 2 Tampa Bay Bucks. That's fine. Down here, 2 Washington guys. That's fine. I don't mind these types. It's giving me a few game stacks, giving me a few secondary stacks, but it's mostly giving me those 3 quarterback plus 2, 3 people from the same team. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes it's running it back with one off the opposite team. There's another one with Devontae Parker instead of Jalen Waddle. And it'll ping pong a little bit with some of these guys on opposite teams. It'll ping pong a little bit with 2 guys on the same team. Like I saw some, there's Mixon and T. Higgins. If Mixon plays, fine with me. That's the kind of stuff that I like to see. And when I come up here, that's Green Bay. If there was a Green Bay in this one, it'd be outstanding. It'd be 2 Bengals and a Green Bay, and there's a mini stack too. These lineups can win. These lineups are producing. Do they win every week? No. But over the course of the year, if you stay the course, they will produce a profit. I've back-tested over the past 2 years. This methodology works. You can close your eyes. You can set it up the way you want to set it up. And if you're good at setting the Domination Station Optimizer up this way, you can close your eyes and probably profit. Okay? I just wanted to share that little methodology with you, show you what we're getting ready to do, because I think this is something that can take the smaller ball to the next level and grind safely on DraftKings, as well as FanDuel when you're using those 100-man leagues. There's not a cheaper contest to do it yet, so I wouldn't build 50 or 60 lineups like I will over on DraftKings. I would limit that to probably 5 or 6 or 7 lineups, in which case I would mostly hand build, or I would go through here and I would just pick my favorite lineups. 1 or 2 from this quarterback, 1 or 2 from that quarterback, 1 or 2 from that quarterback, and I would just let the big dog eat. So, come in and see me, dfsarmy.com. I'm Chapadong. I can help you fix your game. And for those of you that already know, we're going to get after it this week. See you guys.